I would like to welcome Patrick Leijer to the stage. Please give him a big round of applause. Patrick Leijer. No, man.
No, man. Let's improvise.
Yeah. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah. Hi, guys. I think the presentation is a bit off. No? Yeah, looks good. Yeah. First of all, hi, I'm Patrick. Yeah. First of all, Pascal, thanks for having us, and also thank you guys for coming. It's even more off. I think. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Okay, I'm Patrick Leijer, and I was responsible for growth at MiniBrew for the last 2 years, kind of. So that is MiniBrew. Who knows MiniBrew? Any idea what it is? Or at least a couple of people. So in the end, that's basically your coffee machine for at home to get drunk anytime. No, just kidding. It's a first beer brewing device that actually allows you to brew any beer in the world just at home, because the beer space is limited by distributions. And I was till last 3 weeks part of MiniBrew, and now I kind of switched. So that's basically why I'm sharing my learnings from the time at MiniBrew. But I've actually watched to tell you. So I have the honor that I was actually with Gabor and Ferdinand. Around 1.5 years ago, I had the same spot as you guys, sitting and watching them present, when I actually was part of the Growth Tribe Academy back then. So it's really an honor to actually stand next to them. Thanks for that. But actually, to give you a little motivation, what I learned in that kind of things, you have to start. Remember how I look now? Because I actually have a different background. So that's me around 2014, kind of a consultant guy. Working in banking, that kind of stuff. And what happened basically, because just to follow the story, I went to Shanghai, did a semester abroad there, and of course met one of these beautiful Dutch girls, and found MiniBrew just as an experiment during my master thesis. Hey, beer startup sounds fun. And my hair started growing, and I started tapping beer around the globe. So that's what's great. And actually, acquired the skills of a growth hacker, or basically start from my creative scene, from email marketing in that kind of sense, to actually find the term growth hacking and really applied the skills day to day. Really just tested, iterated, and in the end, my hair grew. And so I ended up for a 2-year at MiniBrew. But basically, what you have to know. So if you look from the left side, that was one of the first MiniBrews. The first one actually doesn't fit on there because it was 2 meters long. So that whole thing, it's a hardware startup. And what's the difference between a hardware and a SaaS product? Actually, if you make changes in the whole system, you have to produce molds, you have to test it. So it actually takes time. You can't just switch something on. So we have to keep that in mind. And also, MiniBrew is now delivering the first machines. So there was never an actual product. So that's complete different use case. And that's why also your growth mindset has to change 180%. So the issues we had, around 3 years development. So it started in 2015 with a crowdfunding campaign. And there was a second one, and we're still not on the market. Now coming, but back then was not. So you have a new disruptive concept, never did that. No one did that ever. So there's no kind of proof of concept on the market. And on the other side, so much time. So how do you keep your early adopters happy? How you get more users that follow you? And the other thing, compared to a SaaS product, it's physical. So we're here based in Utrecht, but you can't give that to anyone else around the other side of the world. So someone in Brazil that bought your product or is interested, they can't touch it. And that is actually me super happy. After we got, I think this was in April this year, this year, that the first MiniBrew shipped from the factory. And just keep in mind that we had 2 days break while I was at MiniBrew in the beginning, that we actually constructed machines. Think about that. So it's a really diverse process. And what happened in that kind of process? How do you get people through the pirate funnel? In the end, I'm not sure if you heard a lot of people about that, but you have different things. So about get people to know you, but people see your product, test it for the first time, and to activate them and until you make money. But basically the idea is how to get users to the first user experience if you have a physical product that is not on the market yet and people paid around 1,000 euros for it. And I want to share a little story about crit buns. Anybody knows about that? Okay, 2 people. Give me a short story. I really love that anecdote. Basically, crit buns is a product of one of the founders of Airbnb, Joe Gebbia. And he was an art student. A lot of people don't know that, but art students, they most of the time sit for hours on really hard benches, and there's like some calc on there. So basically everybody gets up and has kind of this put on the back of their pants. And he kind of came with the idea to design like a pillow that people can take with them and sit basically for them, but have a nice user experience. But actually to get to know if you have a hardware product, how is it that people get to know you? And just a short story from him when he was like at some exhibitions. So, like he had like the stand, this booth somewhere, and people are just walking around and saw like a little sign up there and like something hanging there. So they got aware of it. So they thought, oh, I'm curious, like go there and let's see what it is. So basically you acquire them to go to your stand. But how do you activate them? How do you get them basically to the wow moment that everybody's talking about to see the value that your product is delivering for? So what he had the thing so people can touch it. A little note on the back where she tell the story about how Joe Gebbia did it for his graduation project. And then in the end, there was a chair like this one, and people could test it. So they could sit down. But what did you do if there's like no chair to sit down? So what did I do at MiniBrew? Because people couldn't test the machine, except if they come to our office. Yeah, you have to find ways around that. And one of them is to see how you can get them to the wow moment. How you actually make them speechless. And of course, there's things out there, show them the online video how the product works, but they say, not a proven concept, 3 years in development, how do you do that? So one of the things is find something they can bridge the back, and they make them speechless. And one of the things for me in this kind of sense, because MiniBrew was a sexy product, or still is, everybody loves it, but you have to find the real people that are actually willing to buy that. And I came up with the idea to use a Tripwire. Anybody know what a Tripwire is? So it's basically a marketing term of like creating a relationship with a customer. You give them like a certain product, like more value for what they pay. Simple thing, you pay €1 and get 10 records from a music store. And what we did was basically, let's test, similar to Ferdinand with a smoke test, a beer brewing course. So would people that are actually willing, like already like on our website, in our email flow, like our fans, willing to pay for a beer brewing course, but not the normal one with pens, like the old traditional way, but on the MiniBrew. In the end, you have to keep in mind that beer brewing is actually a super simple process, but it's even easier to fuck it up. So we said to them, hey, we have the system, it's actually idiot-proof. You can really brew the beer easily. How can we do that? And I came up with the idea. We hosted, like just the end, we just built a landing page. We kind of targeted our early adopters that actually like really interested in product. And we held the first course on a Saturday. Just tried it out with, I think, 8 people. And we developed the course like with an intern of us, like a beer brewing student that has all the knowledge and actually knows how to talk like the day before. And it was really informative and everything, 100% conversion rate is not bad for like that kind of product. And the people actually paid money for it. And how we did that, it's really simple. Like we had a pool of like people that come to our website. Also like with paid acquisition, referrals from different websites. And I used HubSpot and built, of course, before that, a lead scoring system. But I said, okay, we have so many people that come every day on a website, they get a point, different things. If they have a certain score and they're based in the Netherlands, so Dutch language, that's why Dutch, I said, okay, we automatically, of course, GDPR, on an automation flow for a beer brewing course, and we also retarget them on Facebook, just about like the things that kind of happen. So they actually come on the landing page, then they sign up, hopefully directly, or we have to retarget them again and show them the different values what you have out there to bring it to the course. And then they just do it. And the funny thing then was the idea, okay, hey, they paid money, and we just tell them, hey, get beer brew packages, so actually like Nespresso, you can actually just brew directly when you have one. You get it as a benefit if you then buy one. But the cool thing, the people were so enthusiastic at the course, And they really fucking loved it. The cool thing also got beer back home, so they shared it at home with their friends, and then their friends bought a product from us. And also the other guys who came to the course, directly after they were at home, sent an email, hey, Patrick, I loved it. Can you do something, like some discount? So basically the idea what we had in mind to give them something additionally on top to get them, after they already had the relationship, worked from the beginning. So kind of think about that. If you're not in the already on the market and you have physical product, is there something that you can give them the first user experience before even the product is on the market? And that product was, under our supervision because it was not certified yet. So you'd have to find out ways around to actually wow them. But the other guys all said. The second lessons I had is basically it's all about buzz. And okay, growth hacking is a buzzword, but in general, that's me with the whole team of MiniBrew, basically 5 people. It was during the Web Summit in 2016 in Lisbon. And what actually I learned in that kind of also from the whole team and the co-founders, you have to build your brand first and the rewards in short and long term. On the one hand side, you have something to talk about in the beginning, but also in long term. And the story about that, what we did basically, okay, Web Summit, we're a small startup. We were in part of the beta program, so already had some traction. We said, okay, how can we leverage that thing that we are already on the market, or not on the market, but present there, and kind of combine the tech community in Lisbon and worldwide with the beer brewing scene, which is kind of not related. So the idea was born that this guy actually came up with the idea to say, okay, why don't we fly in that most ambitious brewer in Portugal, like I know Dos Corvus in Lisbon, let them come over to Netherlands and brew a beer with our brewmaster on a machine. Just create 3 recipes, a bit crazy, just make something unique to experience the undiscovered freshness what's out there. And then let the beer ferment in the Netherlands, include the Dutch beer community at the beer festival in Amsterdam to just do a blind tasting and see, hey, which beer is the best. And then the winning beer, our brewmaster flies to Lisbon and brews a beer on this brewery, of the brewery in Portugal. And then, of course, why did we do that? Because we had it on tap at that event in Lisbon, at the Web Summit, at several events of us. So kind of, create buzz around that story that you actually can combine multiple communities with one product, even if you're not locally there. And the cool thing is picked up by a lot of newspapers, actually, so we got a lot of press around that. But also, there was the initial thing, because that time we launched it during the second crowdfunding campaign. And I think now MiniBrew was 400K or something like this, crowdfunded, basically on pre-order machines back then. And yeah, the awesome thing to remember about that was this year was the new craft beer congress in Europe, that our CEO, which is the new one, not in the picture, but he got basically approached by people from the beer industry, by the big players like Heineken, AB InBev, about that thing we did back then, that they heard about this and actually now finally meet us. So, short term, we had a lot of traction, publicity, because we created some buzz with a unique story. And also long term, and actually different industry, it comes back. So it was really learning to actually break that barrier, because you're a pre-launch startup. You're a hardware startup, so you have something there, but you have to kind of create a brand that keeps between the pre-order effect, what you have if you create a crowdfunding campaign, until the actual delivery. And people paid 1,000 euros for 3 years waiting time. It's kind of the way it goes, and it actually worked pretty good. And the next thing, we talk about buzz. But buzz is nothing without a vision or a story. Did anybody see that picture here in the background? Okay, maybe not here. That's actually a picture of our television. A couple of things that were done. So we went to South by Southwest, and we actually made a beer brewed with Budweiser. So make Budweiser great again. Similar to Donald Trump. But no, actually that was a picture about a vision, about a story. It's called Who's Your Daddy? Anybody an idea what we had in mind there? So basically, Who's Your Daddy? Was a Father's Day campaign. In the end, why? It's today everybody's kind of distracted and wants to create a spot there where we actually spend some quality time. And therefore we said, okay, what is then else than create something unique together, spend the time together like brewing beer, but actually the most fun part of brewing beer is actually develop the recipe and share it, but the machine does everything automatically. So we created a contest on Facebook. People had to tell us, hey, what is your vision? Why do you want to brew a beer with your dad? Is there something, a special beer that you want to brew or why? Share it with us online. Basic landing page setup, we drive traffic from our audience, some other people's there. And in the end, after the first stage, we basically were also sharing that to press, like a bit of press hacking, just tell them, hey guys, we have that awesome Father's Day campaign, that we fly someone in to spend awesome call time with their dad. And the response in the community was amazing, because in the beginning, we asked people to share their message digitally, but then of course, what sells better than emotional content? Meaning, I called them and they told me on Skype why they did that. And then there's really people like an real elderly guy, 50 years, told me was crying while he told the story because his dad passed away. And you post something in the end which is questionable, of course online, because people have to vote and share to increase the reach. And then the end, find your winner, fly them in. So there's another thing, usability test, content, and the end, send the beer home. And I actually, since I'm not a MiniBrew anymore, I can't actually show stats now. But basically our Facebook audience nearly doubled just for the small campaign. Only one learning, if you do such a viral campaign, limited to a continent. Because somehow there were some Brazilian people. And they won a contest, so it was quite expensive to fly in people from Brazil, from a little village. It was still nice, but the guy who won with his dad, he's still commenting on every MiniBrew Facebook post, so we have a big audience there already. Still, we don't deliver yet in Brazil, but if you have a vision and a story to tell that kind of waves people, and a story can be something even if it's Crudy or some other platform, you always have something different than all of your competitors. Just find it, that actually something emotional as people. And pre-launch growth, keep your backers happy, because they can get really angry. And that means, sometimes you release constant updates. I don't know who's familiar a bit with crowdfunding campaigns. So basically you have the campaign, and then of course, people say, okay, we have a prototype, we want to produce a product, therefore we need your money. But it takes time. And that thing, so basically you're allowed or you need to share updates over and over again with the people that backed you, that you have the money, and that they actually can follow what you're doing. Similar like an investor, you tell them what you do over and over so they know that the money you have from them is secure. And that means also for your backers, share constant updates. But they can also reply to that updates and tell, guys, you're bullshitting me or I'm not happy. And a similar story to that. So really always be open, welcome them, and just do something unforeseen. Hey, they really complain, just pick up the phone and call them if you have the number, just so they have direct feedback. But what we did, it's not these two guys, but there was a guy from a bit of Nordic country that was really complaining a lot on our campaign, and it's public, and in the end it's just one person or some other one, and the other 300 don't, but it just amplifies. So the idea was, hey, why don't we fly him in? And that was the idea of one of the founders. I paid on my personal note so it doesn't hurt the company, but just let him come. So basically tell them, email, say, hey, you don't trust us, fly over, or everybody else, we of course always invite to our office. We pay your fly, come over, make yourself a picture. Meaning, we converted them actually from a backer into an ambassador. So he was there for usability testing, to give his feedback on the product. We had nice content to share on our platforms. And the end, the great thing is, and since the crowdfunding coupling is private, only if you're a backer you can actually see what we post. That's why I cannot really share it online. But when we post an update and someone was complaining, he was defending us online. And the same for different things like Facebook. It was just yay, guys, I saw it in real life. The cleanest process works super easy. I really love the product, can't wait to get it. And in the end, you have someone that's actually promoting yourself, does for you the customer support, because it's a true fan. And really, especially the early stage, it's kind of also a book 1,000 True Fans, but the early stage, if you're not on the market, The ones people that love your product just make everything that they still love you. And even if it means like you have brewed beer, send it to, I don't know, for a wedding as a guest, as a gift, you know, just because people say, hey, I wanted to have the MiniBrew for the wedding, but didn't work out. Do something to actually keep them there. And also happened that far that some guy just made his own MiniBrew, just out of paper, and gave it as a present to his, for the wedding, with our beer, of course. And the last lesson is learn to say no and do things that don't scale. So this is actually me tapping with our current CEO at the Next Web in Amsterdam this year. Actually won the pitch competition on the site. But what do you learn? So we tried, you have different frameworks. If someone is following the growth process that Eric's talking about, and one of them is BRAS. And one of the things, how you rank experiments, is one thing on scale. Is it what we're going to do scalable? So if it's not, then you basically put a 1. If it's scalable, it's a 5. In the end, it influences the score. But especially at the early traction, you have to find things that don't scale. And that means just try to find different things. So at one hand, we did try several things. Of course, you get kind of product and that kind of things. But we also did some sneaky things. That's called Reddit. But there are also people that can bring you in Reddit on the top 10 in a certain subreddit if you just send them some money. And that means if they just share a press article, but Reddit is where all the press hangs out, where all the early adopters are just everybody wants to flame. If you have someone that pushes you on there for a small amount of money, and you actually sell a couple of machines from that, and then on the one hand side, some press sees that and picks it up and posts about you, it leverages. And if you do that once, and then the following year again with a different article, and it looks like the community is presenting, you actually also grow. And that same thing is then, if you can submit online videos, for example. We said, okay, we have a really wild product. Facebook works really well for us because it's sexy, and people tag each other. We just went, okay, who are all these platforms out there that do these BuzzFeed content? Just everybody likes it. If it works or not, doesn't matter. And we had a big hit with BuzzFeed back then, 9 million views. We had to 90K visitors just in a couple of days on a website every day. And we just said, okay, that works. Let's do that because somewhere are early adopters out there and how to get them. So we just were submitting videos. But then all of a sudden you have a news platform that picks up your video in South America. And if you have 80K people on your website, and even if you have chatbot and whatever on there, you get at least 150 emails about, hey, do you ship to XYZ? And in the end, it just costs so many time to actually reply to all the things. And then there are also some inquiries, hey, I'm the Colombian television, I'm, radio #1 in Brazil, whatever. Can we feature you in a live interview? And you think, okay, fuck, if we do that, then we have another couple of hundred inquiries. And it costs so much time, actually distracts us from all things we do. So actually to say no to such kind of awesome opportunities is kind of hard. But especially if you have a product that is so sexy, like alcohol or beer for a lot of people, that you actually have to learn that. And that actually would hinder you from scaling. So keep in mind that you try to find these one-time hits where you actually do stuff that doesn't scale and learn sometimes to say no, even if the opportunity is not so great. So great. In the end, to sum it up again, my biggest learnings, that's actually a picture, maybe Ferdinand is in the back. No, doesn't matter. Biggest learning is it doesn't matter if you early stage startup or already there, always about people, wow them. How do they get the first user experience? And if you don't have a product yet, how can you break the barrier in between? And if there's already traction, only for brand and buzz and the vision, you can basically stay focused for a longer time. And yeah, your backers are the first people who love your product. Why not the last one? Make them better. Let them promote your product in word of mouth everywhere in the world. And just in the beginning, it's fine if you don't focus on things that don't scale. Not when you're a later growth startup, but that things. And yeah, just a note on the side, growth hacking, a lot of people talk about it and just, okay, how to get more users, how to grow. But in the end, it's also about optimizing the funnel for later stage. And also, I'm not with MiniBrew anymore, but now I'm going to restructure the customer support of a big corporation. But that's also a thing. You can actually test there, you can iterate. So it's not like just an acquisition tool. It's basically a mindset that you can apply on everything. And that's in the end. Because in the end, it's always up at the experiment. And you fail a lot. And you learn. And if that works, then you just repeat. Thanks a lot.